Welcome to our explainer. Today, we're diving deep into one of the biggest, most invisible hurdles in AI, speed. How do these huge language models come up with answers so quickly? Well, turns out it's not just about raw power. We're going to uncover the clever, almost magical techniques that make it all happen. Let's get right into it. You've been there, right? We all have. You ask the AI a really tough question, and then you're just watching that cursor blink and blink and blink. That lag, that little bit of waiting, is the enemy of a good experience. But what if I told you the solution isn't as simple as just throwing bigger, faster computers at it? Yeah, your first instinct is probably just add more chips, make the computer bigger. But here's the fascinating thing. The real bottleneck isn't a lack of horsepower. It's the way these models think, this slow, step-by-step process. The secret to unlocking real speed, it turns out, is a much smarter, more elegant solution. Okay, so to really understand the solution, we first have to get our heads around the problem. And it's a really fundamental limitation in how these AI models work. It's something called the autoregressive bottleneck. Okay, imagine you're trying to write a sentence, but to write the second word, you have to read the entire dictionary. And then to write the third word, you have to do it all over again. That's pretty much what's happening here. For every single word or token, the model has to load its entire massive brain from memory. It's not a compute problem, it's a memory bandwidth problem, and that makes it just painfully slow. So how do you break out of that slow, one word at a time chain? Well, the first big breakthrough was a really clever idea called speculative decoding. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like having a brilliant but slow master author and a super fast, eager apprentice. And here they are. On one side, you've got the master author. This is our big, powerful AI model. It's incredibly accurate, but super slow and expensive to run. And then on the other side, you have the fast apprentice. This is a much smaller, nimbler model. It's not going to be perfect, but it is incredibly quick and cheap to use. And here's how this dream team works. First, that speedy little apprentice just blasts out a whole draft sentence. Then, the slow master model gets to read that entire draft all at once, in a single parallel pass. It just scans the whole thing, checks the work, and says, yep, that's good, that's good, that's good. Ooh, nope, mistake there. And it accepts everything up to that first error. This simple draft then verify process completely shatters that one word at a time bottleneck. But, this first system had a pretty big flaw. If you trained your fast apprentice on, say, writing poetry, it would be absolutely terrible at drafting computer code. So whenever the type of questions changed, the whole system would grind to a halt. The apprentice needed to be able to learn on the job. And this is where things get really, really cool. This table shows a couple of ways the apprentice can learn in real time. The first one, OSD, is kind of like the master is actively correcting the apprentice's homework as it goes. The second one, Tide, is even smarter. It's like the apprentice can read the master's mind. It learns from the master's internal thought process without ever having to slow it down. And as you can see from the numbers, both of these methods give us some pretty serious speed-ups. And the impact of this kind of adaptation is just huge. Look at this number, 60%. In a field like reinforcement learning, where the AI is constantly learning and changing its own master brain, a system called Atlas used 2 apprentices, one for stable knowledge and one for adapting to new stuff, and it cut the total training time by over 60%. This just proves that adaptation isn't some nice-to-have feature. It's absolutely essential for efficiency. Okay. So we figured out that a learning apprentice is a must-have. But that leads to a new question, right? If one apprentice is good, what about a whole team of them? The next big evolution in this story was moving beyond a single draft and starting to generate a bunch of possibilities all at once. This quote from the research really nails the problem. A small, simple apprentice just can't predict all the complex, nuanced, and sometimes weird ways the master model might think. To get better drafts, you need more drafters. It's as simple as that. And that one insight led to this explosion of new approaches. You can see a few of them here. Medusa was kind of like just giving the master model several apprentices, all shouting out ideas at once. Hydra was a step up, letting those apprentices build on each other's ideas. But the real game changer was Polyabasic. Think of it like a corporate ladder. You have a team of junior apprentices making rough drafts, they pass them up to mid-level managers for a quick polish, and only the very best ideas make it to the CEO, our master model. And this chart really just puts it all in perspective, doesn't it?
I mean, while Medusa and Hydra gave us these impressive 2 to 3 times speedups, that hierarchical corporate ladder approach of Polybasic just blew them away, achieving an incredible speedup of over 4 times the original. That's a massive, massive leap in performance.
Okay, but this creates a whole new problem, doesn't it? If you've got a whole team of apprentices all shouting out ideas at once, how does the master pick which one to even look at without wasting a ton of time? The system had to evolve again, from just generating a bunch of drafts to intelligently selecting the best one.
Early methods, things called bandit algorithms, were a bit like playing slot machines in the dark. You pull one lever, you see if you won, but you have no idea if the machine right next to you would have paid out the jackpot. You only get that partial feedback. But a breakthrough called HedgeSpec is like turning all the lights on. It uses what's called a full information approach. After a choice is made, it can look back and see what would have happened with every single draft, which lets it learn and adapt incredibly fast. This leads to the next really logical and frankly brilliant step. Instead of just trying to pick the best draft from the pile, what if the team of apprentices could collaborate? What if they could actually debate among themselves and refine their ideas before they ever bothered the busy master author? And this is the core idea behind a process that is just revolutionary. It's called speculative verdict. Here's how it works. First, a bunch of different apprentices all propose different answers. Then, and this is the magic, they have a debate. They literally cross-evaluate and score each other's work. Only the ideas that win the debate, the ones with the highest group consensus, get passed up. The master's job is now so much easier. Just synthesize the best parts of the winning argument and make a few final corrections. And the results are, well, they're staggering. We're not just talking about speed anymore. On really complex visual reasoning tasks, like trying to understand a super dense chart, speculative verdict was able to correct between 47 and 53% of the errors. This is an AI system that literally fact-checks and improves itself before it gives you an answer.
So we've gone on this whole journey, from a simple apprentice to a self-correcting team of experts. The final piece of this puzzle is making all of this sophisticated logic work perfectly on a real-world hardware without wasting a single GPU cycle. And that brings us to the whole picture, these 4 pillars of modern fast AI. You see, the secret isn't just one single trick. It's the entire journey we just took, evolving from a single apprentice to an adaptive one, then building out a whole team with multi-draft architectures, teaching that team how to debate and find consensus, and finally designing the whole thing to run perfectly on the physical hardware. It's the synthesis of all these ideas that creates truly fast AI.
So what started as a simple engineering hack to make AI faster has evolved into this collaborative, self-correcting reasoning process. And that is truly profound. It forces us to ask a much bigger question. When our AI tools can have an internal debate, find consensus, and correct their own mistakes before they even give us an answer, what does that mean for our trust in them? And more importantly, what does that mean for the future of truth itself?